Hello everyone, so a few years ago I done a video going through how Arrigo Sacchi used to play with AC Milan in the late 80s. And obviously over the last couple of years we've had some changes to the match engine and the way the game works. And I found that old tactic doesn't quite work as well as it used to, so I've gone over it again and just sort of come up with something new. Last time round I ended up with a 4-2-3-1. And I know a lot of people would look at the way they played and see it as a 4-4-2. But the way I'd set it up with support roles on the wings, an attack role in attacking midfield, and a support role as the striker, it always looked like a 4-4-2 in defence anyway. One of the things I didn't like about the last tactic was the low output of the striker. I always struggled to get him scoring goals with that, so this time around that was something I really wanted to fix. So this time around, as you can see, I've gone for an asymmetric 4-4-1-1. This obviously gives me those two banks of four, and then with the shadow striker and the pressing forward, they're going to do a good job of pressing the defenders. So first of all, let me take you through the roles and the player instructions, and then we'll take a look at the team instructions. Now generally I always just go for a goalkeeper these days, and always just put take fewer risks on there. As I've explained in previous videos, this combined with a distributed centre backs does a good job of making sure the goalkeeper doesn't do any silly balls out. Then with my central defenders, I've got one central defender, one ball playing defender with no instructions. I found the dribble more with the two playmakers in there a bit unnecessary, as generally all we do is just bring the ball out and pass it sideways to one of the playmakers. Although I wouldn't bother adding dribble more, brings ball out of defence would be a handy trait to have. Either side of that, I've then got a wing back on support with no instructions, and I've got a wing back attack on the other side with no instructions. Now moving into the midfield, one of the things I wanted is to stay quite compact as we defend. So my thinking was to add sit narrow on the inverted wingers. This is because I want them to take up a naturally narrow position, so that if we do lose the ball, they're already quite narrow, ready to defend. I've got no other instructions apart from sit narrow on either side. Now the inverted winger is obviously naturally going to cut inside anyway, but what I'm looking for from the other winger is for him to make runs in the box in quite a narrow position. As you can see, this cutting inside and the run into the far post work well in this situation. This time around, the inverted winger opted to run the ball down the wing instead of cutting inside, where he then made a cutback before moving into the box in a narrow position. As you can see, he received the ball again and then played it over to the other inverted winger who was making a run into the box. So these inverted wingers are going to combine very well. As you can see, he went down the wing there, or he can cut inside there, but generally they're going to move back into this space here. To complement that, I've got a roaming playmaker in the middle, and I've asked him to move into channels so that he'll move up into this area as well. So the roaming playmaker, the inverted winger, and the pressing forward will combine very well. And you're obviously going to have the wing back moving up to support attacks as well. On the left side of central midfield, I've got a deep line playmaker. I like the way he holds position, and also like the way he drops deep to receive the ball when we're building that from the back. With the attacking midfielder, I've just got to tackle harder. This is just because I want a little bit more urgency when he's pressing and trying to win the ball. And then lastly, I've got a pressing forward up front with take more risks. And I know with the take more risks, it does say passing risks, but this is actually quite a poor description because it doesn't only apply to passing risks. Adding take more risks will also increase the amount of risk your striker takes from making runs into the box. Now, if you haven't got the right striker, this will result in a lot of offsides. But if you've got someone with good anticipation and off the ball, then this is going to work great and they're going to get you a lot of goals. I've had Esposito as my main striker for the last 18 months. And as you can see, in this season he scored 29 league goals in 36 appearances. And overall he scored 42 goals in 47 starts and 4 sub appearances. This is a great output for a 21-year-old striker. So I was happy with that, because as I said, the output of the striker is something I really wanted to improve this time around. So looking at the team instructions then, so we've gone fairly narrow. This just keeps the players nice and close together. So when we do lose the ball, we're ready to get into that compact two banks of four. Playing the ball out of defence obviously, using shorter passing, just keeping the tempo standard. We're actually using dribble less because I found a lot of the players just running into areas where they would lose the ball. Particularly if you have a roaming playmaker here who's got dribble more, quite often all he's going to do is end up running up into this position here, and it gets quite annoying, to be honest. He doesn't really do anything up there. But I prefer there to be the choice of him being able to dribble the ball or just pass it off to the inverted winger or into the shadow striker or a striker. We've gone work ball into the box just so that we're not getting too many long shots. Was a little bit of a problem in pre-season, but I just put the work ball into the box. I usually use work ball into the box a lot nowadays. It can be quite situational, obviously. Sometimes if you sort of like playing against a team that are really defensive, trying and work ball into the box can make it hard just to break teams down a little bit. I've gone for low crosses, just so that we're getting nice cutbacks here, particularly from the wing back on attack. What we're looking for him to do is come up here and cross from this area up here. This will generally be to the inverted winger who's sitting quite narrow, or the shadow striker. This works really well this side, having this wing back come right up here and having the option of having the inverted winger or the shadow striker there. Also, we can play the ball across straight into the pressing forward, which quite often happens. In transition, we're passing to the centre backs. I already explained why I chose that. And we're obviously going for counter presses. That was something that Milan were well known for. And this time around, this is a little bit different from the last tactic. I didn't actually have counter on the last tactic, because I was always looking to sort of slow things down a bit and play the ball a bit longer. This time around, I've gone a bit narrower, kept the passing shorter, added dribble less. And I've found this just gets some nice combinations of passing going forward, and we get some good goals sort of on the counter. Without it, I found it was just playing the ball around the midfield a little bit, and nothing was really happening. So having the counter and then having the passing space, which I didn't mention before, allows us to sort of move the ball forward and looking to pass the inverted wingers, the striker or the shadow striker, as they move into goal scoring areas. Now the high line is something they were definitely known for. They obviously used to use an offside trap times have changed a little bit now, and obviously we don't have the option to have an offside trap on here. I think the closest thing you're going to get to that is probably like step up more, but it doesn't work nothing like what the offside trap used to. To be honest, offside trap is something I'd stop using towards the end of them having it on the game anyway. Now you could obviously come back into a mid block if you wanted to as well, but I found that is just a little bit too passive. So I like to have the high press along with the more often on the trigger press, and I found this is enough. You don't really need to go up to them much more often. Your players are going to get dragged out of position. You're not going to get that 2 banks of 4 that you want. Players are going to get moved all over the place. This is one of the reasons why I've added no instructions on the inverted wingers like tackle harder or close down more or anything like that. I just kind of want them to stay in that position there. I don't want them getting dragged all over the place. But at the same time, I do want multiple players to approach the players sometimes. But having them more often means, for instance, if say the fullback on the right has the ball and he comes out, shadow striker, the inverted winger, and maybe the DLP will all start moving towards that player together. And then lastly, just to try and bring everything in a little bit, we've just got the trap outside, just so the players sit a little bit narrower. And then as the ball comes down the wing, the players will start to press, which the more often will help with. Now I do have some opposition instructions as well. I've got trigger press across the whole defence and the defensive midfielders, as well as tackle harder. This is just so the opposition try building that from the back. That front two, the inverted wingers and the midfield will all start to move towards these players and start to limit the amount of space they've got to pass the ball around. I'm showing the right back or the right wing back onto their right foot. This is so they don't have space to start coming into the middle, and then they've only got the option of either going out wide or just playing a useless long ball across the pitch. I do that with the wingers as well. Don't have to trigger press on them because again I don't want the fullbacks getting pulled too far out of position, but I also do want them showing onto their right or left foot, matching the side that they play on, just so that they're pushed down towards the corner of the pitch rather than allowing them to cut inside. Lastly on the strikers, I've added tighter marking just so that the centre backs get a bit closer to them. I don't mind using the tighter marking opposition instruction. However, tighter marking on the player instruction on the centre backs is not something I really use. And lastly, I've added show onto weaker foot, just so we're not letting the strikers get off a shot with their strongest foot. Now this has been my second season at Lazio. This is my 4th season overall in this save. I won the league without losing the game and I won the Italian Cup. I unfortunately only got to the quarter-final of the Champions League. If you have the right players, this is a tactic that will score you a lot of goals and not concede many either. As you can see, in 38 games I scored 87 goals, only conceded 70, which gives me a very good goal difference of plus 70. If you want to have a go at using this tactic, you can either create it by watching a video, or you can click the link in the description where you'll find the tactic in a Dropbox folder. Leave a comment to let me know how you get on with it, and if there are any other managers or teams that you want to see replicated, let me know and I'll see if I can get something worked out.